And welcome everyone. Today I'm gonna show you an opening where you can win a chess game in just 9 moves as black. You don't believe me? Well, trust me. But before we get into the video, remember to like and subscribe, and as always follow me on Twitch where you can see me play my games. And yeah, let's start. The opening I'm talking about is the Traxler counterattack. This opening starts after white plays e4, you're gonna play e5, and white has to go for the Italian, which is knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. And now you're gonna play the knight defense, which is knight f6, and you're gonna attack on e4. Now, white has to play the fried lever, which is knight g5. Knight g5 has a clear intent, which is attacking the f7 pawn with the knight, which is a fork. And now you're gonna scream, oh no, my pawn, and you're gonna play bishop c5, which is a great move because white will think, well, this guy is an idiot. It looks like white can take. But actually, in this position, there are 3 moves. White can take this pawn either with knight or with bishop. But white can also play d4, although this move is rarely seen. So I'm gonna look at it at the end of the video, but you're gonna encounter most of the time knight f7 and bishop f7. So let's look at what happens if white plays knight f7. Knight f7 looks like you hang a fork, but this is where you're gonna uncork this beautiful move, bishop f2. Bishop f2 check. This is a bishop sacrifice, and the idea is really simple. If white takes, knight e4 is gonna come with check, and then your queen is gonna get out and attack this king. But white can also not take and play king f1. So let's look at what happens if white takes the bishop. If white takes the bishop, we're gonna take on e4 with check. This is a really important move. It opens up our queen, either this way or this way. So now the white king can go to these 6 squares. 2 of these 6 squares survive while the other 4 lose the game. The squares where white can go is g1 and e3. So let's look at the other ones first. So if white goes to f3, well, now you just have queen f6 check. Now, white has to take, otherwise the other moves are just checkmate. Just to make an example, if white goes here, well, this is checkmate. With knight c5 check, white takes, and queen f4 is literally mate because these squares are covered. So white has to take, and after white takes, we get queen f4. Queen f4 check, king d3, and now d5. d5 is a really important move, and in a lot of this position you're gonna play this, and the idea is to sacrifice a pawn to open up the bishop. Now there is queen d4 check, king e2, and we pick up the bishop. Now position looks equal because white is gonna lose this, but white is a pawn up, but is a piece up. But the white king is so weak, and right now bishop here is a big threat. The best move here is not to actually take, but after bishop g4 we pick up the queen and we chill. So king f3 is not an option. What happens if the king goes to e1? If the king goes to e1, now we give this check, and it's just over because here there is mate with queen f2. King d3 is just the mate we've seen before. The only move is to go g3, but now we can take this because of the pin. If white takes, we take the check, and this is just winning because white cannot go king here because otherwise this picks up the queen, and this is winning. If white goes, let's say f1 on f1 instead, this looks like a smart move because now queen f6 is met with queen f3. But now you're not going to f6, you're going to h4. And the idea is really simple. You want to deliver a checkmate on the f2 square. The only way to stop it is to put the queen either on e2 or e1. Let's say white plays this, but now you're gonna get check. The idea is really simple. You attack this bishop from a mile away, and of course white cannot take this way because you're gonna take this with check. This is check. This is really important. White has to move the king, and now you're gonna pick up the knight, and you're just gonna be better because you are a pawn up actually, and you're gonna play this in a slightly better position. The last move that I wanna show you is king. We've seen this. Well, this we've not seen yet. Well, after king e2, there is knight d4, which is a check. The king has to move, and now this is a fork. So the only squares are g1 and e3 after knight d4 check, obviously. Now let's look king e3. If king e3, we go as always to h4. Queen h4 is always a useful move in this position, so you gotta keep this move in mind. The only move that doesn't lose for white here is g3, because otherwise queen f2 is just crashing, as we've seen before. So g3, now we take this because if white takes, well, we give a check, king f3, and we castle actually. We do not pick up the bishop, don't be greedy, because otherwise white takes this and it's gonna be fine. We do not take this, but we castle, and you see the pressure here on the king. The only move that doesn't lose is an impossible move to find, and that is rook h4, and the game goes on after e4 check. So no one in your game is gonna find rook h4, and this is just too much pressure. You're gonna play d5, you're gonna play bishop here, check, and this is just completely winning in my opinion. Not, of course, from an objective point of view, if white knows all the moves, this is not completely winning, but in your games, of course, rook h4 is not gonna get played. So this is king e3. If the king goes here on g1, well, you once again go to h4, and g3 is still the move. There are other moves now. There is like, for example, there are other moves, because the idea, of course, is to checkmate on f2. I'm sorry, is to checkmate on f2, and maybe white plays this, but then this comes with an attack on the queen. So the best move once again is g3. And now the thematic move, knight g3. If white takes this, right, we give this check, king f1, and now rook f8. We slide the rook to f8, and we put pressure, and this position is a nightmare for white. Even if white is a pawn, is a piece up, but this position is just incredible for black. But all of this doesn't have to happen. In fact, white can just slide the king to f1, and now it may seem like there is no way forward, but in fact, there is still a lot of pressure in the position. Now, the next move is forced. We gotta play queen e7, otherwise the queen is just hanging, and white will take this. Now, the move, the most important move in this position that you have to remember is d5. This is a really important move because it opens up the bishop, and after white takes, white cannot take with bishop, because otherwise bishop g4 and you trap the queen. The queen is just trapped. So this cannot be taken by the bishop, but it will be taken by the knight. And now you put the knight in the middle. Now there are two moves. c3 is the weaker one because you can play bishop g4. And if white tries to give this check, well, there is knight d7. And this is lost for white because let's say white takes the knight, you play queen f6, and there is no one guarding this king, and it's gonna be mate very soon. So c3 is the weaker one. The ng move in this position is to sacrifice this pawn, and the idea is really simple. You want to deflect the queen from this file, and in doing that you've opened now this file, and now the position is quite equal, and you're gonna have a game. you're gonna play maybe bishop g4 and long castle, and this is considered to be the critical approach by white. But you see, it's really difficult to play when your king is on f1 and there is a bishop on f2, because your king has no moves. At some point, it will be able to take, but not right now. Right now, the bishop cannot be taken, and you have just easy development, castle, and you're gonna attack this king. So even though the engine says that white is a touch better, well, do not trust the engine, because from a practical point of view, it's a nightmare to play for white. But going back, when white did this, we play bishop c5. White doesn't have to take with the knight, it can take with the bishop. And I believe this is the best way to play, but here there is this mini bomb cloud, let's say, with king e7. And now the best thing to do as white is to retreat the bishop, otherwise h6, and the knight cannot guard the bishop anymore, and we take the bishop. So white will retreat with the bishop either to d5, c4, or b3. Let's say bishop d3. And now there are no forcing variation, but the moves you're gonna play are just the same. First of all, you're gonna play rook f8, because you don't want this to be a problem anymore. So you play rook f8, and the next move for you are gonna be d6, h6, bishop g4 if the knight is on f3, d6, h6, bishop g4, and the king is actually gonna be safe on e7 because it can slide all the way here. And the key idea in this position is to play queen e8 and move along this diagonal. You see, there is no pawn on f7, which means the f file is open, and you can use that as your advantage to play queen e8 and go this way. And this is what happens if white plays bishop f7 check, bishop f7. The last move I want to show you is d4. What happens if white plays d4? This is a really rare move. You're not gonna play a lot of games with d4, but I will include this anyway. The move here for black that you have to remember is d5, and this just looks completely chaotic because this is under pressure. This is under pressure. This is all hanging. Now, white cannot take the bishop because otherwise we just take this, and he's gonna get a bunch of exchanges. And yeah, I'm sorry. You take. I meant to say this because otherwise there is knight f7. You're gonna get a bunch of exchanges, and this is just equal. But if white takes this, well, you just take this, and you have a strong knight in the center, and this is not a problem anymore. So if white takes this, you get knight e5, and yeah, that's it. If white takes this, you're gonna play knight d4, and you're gonna be in a complicated position. You can castle at some point, etc., etc. Like bishop d5, knight d4, if, and this is like a Traxler but on steroids. And there is the Traxler counter attack with bishop c5. Now, as always, I'm gonna play some games, and I will try to play the Traxler, and let's see how it goes. Alright, e4, e5. Alright, bishop c4 might transpose to the exactly. Now let's see. Does he go for the front? And here we are. We play bishop c5, the Traxler, and he takes. Wow, he takes. Let's take on f2. Let's see what he does. He takes. All right. Let's see where he goes with the king. Either here or here. Right. Now we move our queen to h4. This is a really straightforward idea. Next is gonna be a bunch of these moves. Right. queen. Wait, queen here. Hold on. So queen here is not a good check because you can just block. I guess rook f8. Rook f8. Let's go rook f8. All right, all right. It goes there. Do I take it? I believe I take it. All right. Let's take the bishop. This is a threat. All right. Uh, what do we do? What do we do? Give this check, maybe? I can't tell. Let's check. There is rook here, though. There is rook here. Then I play d6. Yeah. Maybe b6. Yeah, maybe b6 was too slow. Maybe not. Oh, what? Is a free pawn. We take this. Wait, wait, hold on. Yeah, because this is a threat. Yeah. Like, yeah, let's stick with the queen. And this is mate. Yeah, so you've seen this is just an incredible opening. I mean, I destroyed my opponent. There is so much power in this. And I hope you win a lot of game with it. This opening is just incredible. As always, thanks very much for watching and see you in the next video.